You probably were pretty surprised about the title of this, but I had to be blunt because honest to God, we are talking about poop. Um, the more clinical term, your bowel movements, your stools, and what they have to do with your cardiovascular health. Dr. Michael Dansinger is here. And this is a really, I think it's one of the most important segments we have because this topic actually made all the difference in the world for my dad who had heart disease. And we're going to find out why. You'll understand why as we get through it. But Dr. Danziger, I know this topic doesn't surprise you, being someone who focuses on nutrition and diabetes and vascular and cardiovascular health.
Exactly. It's a great topic today. Let's figure out how we can use our intestinal tract to lower our cholesterol and our heart disease risk. So,
Okay.
let's talk about poop. So, why should we even talk about this at all? So, first of all, let me point out, let me remind the audience that previously we've spent a lot of time talking about for people who have high cholesterol. Oftentimes it's because the liver is making too much, but sometimes it's because the intestinal tract is absorbing too much, and that there's blood testing from Boston Heart Diagnostics and others that can help sort out whether you're an overproducer from the liver or an overabsorber from the intestinal tract. I happen to be an overabsorber from the intestinal tract, which means I'm especially sensitive to strategies that reduce cholesterol absorption. So, if you have an overabsorption issue, you want to find out about that, and your body isn't flushing out excess LDL cholesterol fast enough. And bowel regularity is part of the fix. So, on average, men and women should have at least one and maybe up to three bowel movements per day. Soluble fiber helps keep things moving. So it's always best to increase soluble fiber, and we'll talk about that, how to do it, through diet. So some people are very sensitive to fiber, as I mentioned, and so supplementation should be discussed with your dietitian, but you want to use food mainly in order to increase your soluble fiber. So, what is soluble fiber and how does it work? So, soluble fiber dissolves in water to form a gel in your gut, which binds to cholesterol and bile acids. Your liver uses cholesterol to make bile acids for digestion, and soluble fiber in the intestinal tract traps bile acids so they can leave the body in the stool instead of being reabsorbed. So your liver then has to pull more cholesterol out of the blood to make new bile acids, which lowers LDL cholesterol over time. And this is the same cholesterol absorption pathway that we were discussing last week and at the beginning of this presentation. So you want to ask your dietitian, what's my personal soluble fiber goal? In general, aiming for 10 grams per day is a good strategy. So you can use any of these types of vegetable categories or food categories rather to try to get to 10 grams a day. So each of these servings is around 1 to 2 grams of soluble fiber. A cup of raw broccoli or Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, half a cup of whole grains like barley or oatmeal or quinoa, a medium apple, orange, peach, or pear, a cup of berries, especially raspberry, blackberry, strawberry, half a cup of beans like black-eyed peas, or a tablespoon of whole chia seeds, or 2 tablespoons of ground flax seeds, or some avocado.
And one thing with the flax seeds and the chia seeds is I put them in a spice grinder and that helps me with digestion. A lot of people say they have trouble digesting those, and that's one way that might help you to just be able to put them. I put them in a salt shaker and I sprinkle them on my salads and sprinkle them on my vegetables and such. And you don't even know they're there, and you're getting that extra fiber.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So with chia seeds, they have to be well hydrated. They absorb a lot of
Yeah.
liquid. They have to be well hydrated. And those flax seeds, grinding them for sure makes all the difference between whether they're working or not. So again, we'll reiterate some of the top food categories to focus on to get your fiber. So there's the cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, root vegetables like carrots, parsnips, turnips, sweet potatoes. I'm going to add beets in there, one of my favorites, and green beans, okra, onions, leeks and whole grains, like we mentioned, oats, barley, quinoa, brown rice, all
What
winners.
about what about sorghum? I
Yep.
just started using sorghum because I can't have barley because
Yeah.
it's gluten.
Yeah, that's another nice addition. And I use a lot of farro at home,
Oh,
especially in salads. Um, Certain fruits have a lot of fiber, especially apples and oranges, peaches, pears, figs. Berries we mentioned, um, chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, lima beans, navy beans, pinto beans. Um, One of my favorites, lentils, and then there's soybeans. So all of those types of legumes. And then we were talking earlier about the different types of seeds and avocado. So in addition to dietary fiber from all those healthy fruits and vegetables and whole grains, you can add to that to try to get, your fiber, your soluble fiber up to target using psyllium husk. So go for the powdered stuff. So this psyllium husk is concentrated soluble fiber usually taken as a powder and mixed with water. And the research shows, proves that it works. And so, aim for the 10 grams, maybe even above and beyond what you're getting from diet. And 10 grams a day of psyllium husk reduces LDL cholesterol by about 10%, give or take,
wow.
and that happens quickly, within weeks. And it works exactly the same way as dietary soluble fiber by binding the bile acids in the intestinal tract and the cholesterol so they leave the body in the stool. And the FDA allows, because of such research, the FDA allows psyllium containing foods to carry the health claim linked to soluble fiber, which lowers the risk of coronary heart disease. You got to go slow and build up when it comes to fiber. Don't suddenly take a full dose. And when you do, it has to be, with a lot of liquid, a lot of water.
I'm glad you reemphasized that because so many people say it's when they've had a lot of chia seeds, it's stopped them up. And I said, well, how many chia seeds are you eating suddenly out of the blue? Everything does need to build up over time. So just keep that in mind and increase the amount of fluid that you're taking in.
Yeah. And by the way, the intestinal bacteria really like fiber. It's like their favorite thing to eat. They like it especially from vegetables and fruits and whole grains, but even the as a supplement, the it benefits the intestinal bacteria. So let's switch gears and talk about another complementary method to lowering your LDL using plant sterols and stanols. So plant sterols and stanols are naturally occurring compounds and so they're in food and they look like chemically they look like cholesterol and they compete with it for absorption in the intestine. So imagine your intestine is trying to absorb cholesterol because you're an overabsorber, and if you um, consume plant sterols, then they take up all the binding sites for cholesterol in the intestine, allowing the natural cholesterol to leave your body rather than getting reabsorbed. So by blocking that absorption, they lower LDL cholesterol. And eating, consuming 2 to 3 grams a day, split across 2 or 3 meals, lowers LDL cholesterol by around 10 to 15%. And plant stanols are sometimes added to certain foods, like spreads, orange juice, yogurt drinks, and that's the main way to get stanols. Sterols are common enough in foods that you can get them through these healthy foods. Many of them we've already mentioned because of their soluble fiber.
And there is a product that a cardiologist started. It's called Step One Foods, and you can look up the people can look up the research on it. It was studied by the Mayo Clinic, and they said that the plant sterols and psyllium husk can make a huge difference, as you just stated, in reducing LDL cholesterol if you do have a cholesterol reabsorption problem. And so many people do because they didn't even um, I don't know if the word disseminate, like they didn't say that there was cholesterol reabsorption versus a liver production problem. They just made this statement, a blanket statement, that
Yeah.
it does help in reducing LDL cholesterol, not like Honey Nut Cheerios and their statements. We're talking like the real deal here. Oh, there it is. I didn't
Yeah,
even know it
so
was
you
there.
just summarized it. And so, I always want to see proof like this. Whenever someone's making a health claim, I want to see randomized trials whenever possible. And so this is just a slide to remind, that we look for evidence like this Mayo Clinic study where it was a randomized, double-blind crossover trial, which is a perfect design for this sort of thing. And they proved that the amount of LDL reduction that you can see is 8.8%, resulting from 2 servings a day of step one foods. So 80% of the participants achieved a meaningful LDL reduction, and some as high as 20 to 40%. And this was
Wow.
published in a peer-reviewed, Journal of Nutrition. And so this is sort of this is what we want to see is good research like this to really prove. There's so many claims out there about what supplements can do, and I always want to see this kind of research. So thank you, Kim.
But what's interesting is that I've been in consults with some cardiologists and patients in our network for the Global PAD Association. And I've had a couple of cardiologists that said, why are we talking about the intestines? Why are we talking about bowel movements? That has nothing to do with it. Just take a statin. And it was disconcerting that even the Mayo Clinic has done something on this. Even the Mayo Clinic recognizes this. And yet, general cardiologists are not talking to their patients about this. And with a study like this and what we're talking about, it seems to be a big part of what patients need to hear and patients need to take action on in order to improve their cardiovascular and vascular health, even if they're on a statin.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I'll just to underscore the point, my philosophy is that you have to get your LDL cholesterol to target, and you need to do that with the least amount of medication possible to do so, in my opinion. So the goal isn't to maximize the amount of statin you're taking. The goal is to get your LDL to the target without whatever means necessary. And so if you can do it through lifestyle, then all the better. Or if you can do it with half as much statin because you're doing a good job with lifestyle, more power to you. So these are the three main ways we just talked about for lowering your cholesterol absorption: soluble fiber, getting 8 to 10 grams a day, psyllium husk, plant sterols, and stanols. I just want to point out with soluble fiber, there's two kinds of fiber. There's soluble fiber, like what we were talking about, which lowers your LDL. And then there's insoluble fiber, which mainly bulks your stools. And insoluble fiber is good. In fact, all the foods we were talking about that have soluble fiber also have insoluble fiber. So only about a third of the fiber in the diet is the soluble type. So what you want to do if you're just counting your total amount of fiber is you actually need 30 grams a day or more in order to get your 10 grams of soluble. So don't confuse soluble fiber with total fiber. You want to get 30 grams a day at least of total fiber in order to get enough soluble fiber. So, in summary, regular bowel movements matter for artery health, believe it or not. And they're one way your body clears out excess cholesterol. Soluble fiber from food is the foundation. Psyllium husk and plant sterols and stanols are proven ways to add more support. Clinical research, like the Mayo Clinic study we mentioned, shows that food-based strategies can meaningfully lower LDL cholesterol 10 to 15%, and always increase fiber gradually, drink
Yes.
plenty of water, loop in your dietitian, especially if you have fiber sensitivity. It's a great topic.
Yeah. And it's so important to make sure you get the food for thought book. We're taking all of the information, we're bringing it to life. We worked really hard, especially Dr. Dingsinger worked really hard on this book. It's available on Amazon. You can just search peripheral artery disease and scroll down and you'll see the food for thought book. I didn't realize, Dr. Dansinger, when I first um, created the name, that there were so many other books, food for thought. So you
Oh,
definitely have to search peripheral artery disease source. So maybe when we do our next iteration, we might want to think about just changing it to the PAD diet or something of that sort so it's easier for people to find. But if you can't afford it, you can go to our website, padhelp.org, and you can navigate to the peripheral artery disease info tab. And if you look in the drop down, there is a diet page and the book is on there. You can get a digital copy at no cost to you. And we're getting ready to launch all of the modules we're putting together. We're taping one every week. So hopefully you're joining us every week. We're going to be creating a playlist on our YouTube channel. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel so you get notified every single time that we have a new module. Next week, we're going on to module 6, but you can go back on our YouTube pages, Michael Dansinger, MD, and also The Way to My Heart, and you can look up the previous modules and look at them one by one. But we're going to launch an orientation, and we're going to be offering very soon a certificate to show that you have participated in this and you sat through and you learned about the different types of cholesterol, the different types of diet, um, the different types of soluble fiber and psyllium husk and sterols and stanols and all of the above, and more to come. Coming up in the next few modules, we are also going to be talking about food substitutions. So healthier substitutions. You might be thinking, oh my goodness, this is what I'm eating every day. How do I incorporate all that in? Well, don't worry. We're going to put this all together as we move forward. And we're going to show you maybe instead of eating rice, you'll eat cauliflower rice and things like that. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, if you're in New Hampshire, if you're in New York, if you're in Massachusetts or Virginia or Minnesota or Florida, and you have Medicare, or Medicare Advantage PPO plans, you may qualify to take advantage of Dr. Dansinger's one-on-one personalized and customized diabetes reversal services. So make sure you go to diabetesreversalpartners.com to learn more about that. But thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Dansinger, for being here.